Welcome to Eurozone, the podcast about European Ultimate. I'm Ravi Vasudevan, joined here by Liam Grant. Liam, actually got to play some Frisbee this past weekend.
How'd you get on?
Not well. I think it was the lowest placement Wizards have had in the Swiss Mixed Championships in quite a long time. We got 7th. We kind of got a little messed up by the quarterfinal draw because Crazy Dogs, the first weekend was during this Basel Open thing. So a bunch of their top players were playing with Flying Angels Bern because they're going to play with them for Worlds. And then, so they kind of messed up where they ended up in the bracket. And then we ended up playing them in quarters. We beat them 15-7 the first weekend. And then we lost to them when they had all their really good players the second weekend. So we ended up 7th.
Really good players, bit of a stretch there now.
Aaron Reed was a pretty good player.
Yeah,
I think one of the top players in Switzerland. And Daniel Mercy was another one. They had 3 Swiss national team players that showed up.
Did I see you won Spirit or something?
We did win Spirit.
Yeah, that's when I knew things had gone wrong for you, you know? I saw you there with some Spirit prize, they must have done really bad. If you're going to come 7th, you might as well win Spirit in the process, you know?
It was a tight Spirit race. We had an 11.57 and nobody got less than a 10.5 or something. So it was everybody was writing the same thing. So we were in a tight Spirit match we got there. We managed to squeak it out.
You got a box of goodies. What was that Spirit prize? It looked like a bunch of food.
It was like a bottle of Prosecco, a bottle of ginger beer, a bunch of weird beverages, a bunch of it was just a snack, like a picnic snack box. So we went to the Lake Geneva. It was in Geneva, the tournament. So we went to the Lake of Geneva afterwards and had some nice drinks and some snacks. That was fun. Highlight of the weekend. No, we actually played pretty well. It was just, we ran into this Crazy Dogs team. They ended up making the final. They lost to Zurich in the end. Zurich was really, really strong. And, they're going to take if they want to go, they're going to have the World's bid from Switzerland. But anyways, Switzerland mix, not much to talk about there. The one thing I did want to talk about during this experience, forgetting my sad 7th place placement, was, I played with Ratio Rule A for the first time. Have you played with it yet?
Yeah, several times.
It's freaking hard
to remember.
Yeah. It's really hard to be in the game and know what the gender's supposed to be when you're I was tasked on my team with being the person in charge of knowing.
Oh.
There were 2 of us, one on the D line, one on the O line. I was the O line player. There was a D line one as well. We were both supposed to be figuring out what the gender sign should be. And it's really hard. In the first half, I figured out whenever we're on the side opposite from where we started, that means we switch, which is halfway there. But then you still have to remember what the previous point was. And I couldn't figure out a really good system for it. But then in the second half, it can either change sides or not change sides. I couldn't figure it out. It's really, really difficult.
The only way to do it is pen and paper. Someone has to be recording
scorekeepers.
Scorekeepers, but gender keepers? Does that sound a bit strange? Keepers of the genders.
In WIFDIF events, there's usually those people keeping time, keeping score that are those volunteers. They can shout it if they're. I hope they're allowed to shout it out for us because I think that's the easiest way.
Goalkeepers. That's the goalkeepers in Ultimate. That is definitely the hardest part of the rule. Nothing about having women pull or nothing about having rosters a certain way. It's literally just remembering what has happened 2 minutes ago. Is one of the most difficult things in Ultimate, it seems. I don't know why, but that's everyone's exact same experience with it. And I don't think it's going to get any easier unless we just...
And we did get used to the new gender hand signals, which that also took a while because we've been doing the old WIFDIF ones for years, had those in my muscle memory, and now I have to do the other ones, which are weird.
The PG-15 phallic symbols from WIFDIF that weren't allowed. Get your clapped hands away from us. Above your head.
The way I have it remembered for those who are on the video, this signal where you get your arms out, if you look at a silhouette of a person like that, it kind of looks like the female gender symbol with the circle with the plus coming out of it. So that's the only way I've been able to remember it, as to which one is which. And then the other one is the other one. The other one's the dudes. The one with the hands behind. I have no way to like say that that's men, but you just kind of figure that out. So yeah, that's how I did that. In terms of the pulling rule, some countries have already enforced it, I think, but the Switzerland hadn't enforced it yet. But some teams are doing it anyways. Even I think Zurich, who won the championship, was doing it. And so some teams are just like, oh yeah, that rule makes sense. We're just going to put it on our team. My team wasn't one of those teams that did that, but other teams out there were doing it, which I thought was cool to see.
Yeah.
Were you using that in that Irish qualifier tournament you guys did?
We did, yeah. And it was kind of grand.
You used the pulling rule?
We used the pulling rule, yeah, which I felt was appropriate for what it was qualifying for.
True.
So I've only actually played it one game, but I know like we had a mixed training there, and that's something we're talking about and preparing in the games. We were doing it in our training sessions. So
okay, and yeah, I thought about, is there a way to? I guess you're saying gender to paper, because like I know if you just did one half 4-3 and the other half 3-4, is that not even enough to do it? I mean, I know sometimes the second half is shorter than the first half, and that's probably the way
that's sometimes games are like you've had 1 point in the second half. That wouldn't work at all, Ravi.
So I would say, look, timed halves and then do half and half. How do you feel about that? It's so hard. If there's not scorekeepers around, I feel like it's really hard to do, but maybe we'll get used to it. I don't know.
Don't just get it wrong. I'm pretty sure we got it wrong in that qualifier, and everyone just accepted it. And we're just like, well, let's start again from now. We'll just like acknowledge that, everyone's forgotten what's just happened a minute ago, and we have to just move on from that. I think that can happen sometimes.
Well, if anyone out there has like a good system for how to do this, besides just writing out everything pen to paper,
there is none. And everyone says,
feel free to comment it.
Everyone's like, when we're in this end zone, we do this, and then like that doesn't actually make sense nor work.
No, that doesn't work. I tried that. That didn't work. That doesn't work.
And it's the people who suggest those things, they're the problem, because everyone's like, okay, yeah, great. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. And like 2 points later, it's like, whoa, that does not make sense. It's like, now we don't remember what we're doing. So there's one system with pen and paper, and you write down what's happened every single point, document it. That is the only way it's going to work.
All right. Okay, so a couple other intro bits. We got a lot of like coverage to talk about. A lot of national championships happen. We're going to preview the XEUCF a little bit, but we're going to do another episode next week. We're going to do the full XEUCF preview with all the picks and really going through the pools in detail. And we'll probably have some of the preview articles ready by then. We got 3 reporters that are going to be working for Ulti World at XEUCF, and so they'll be writing some preview articles hopefully this weekend. Hopefully they'll get them to me by early next week so we can have a look at what their research turned up. But a couple more intro bits before we get about to real tournament coverage. We have an Instagram now. I finally gave Eurozone a bit of an Instagram, so check us out at Eurozone Ulti. Getting some good traction. We still have a lot more Facebook followers than Instagram followers. I want to flip that because I hate Facebook and want to never use it again. So I'd like everybody to just follow us on Instagram so I never have to look at Facebook again, and like that can be the way we actually interact with our fans. That would be great. Also, tag us in stories and stuff. Some teams have already done that, and we can, share stories of things that are happening around Europe. I think it can kind of be like a central resource for cool results that happened or cool videos that are going on. So, tag us, follow us at Eurozone Ulti.
I'll be doing a fashion show at the extended EUCF. Well, fashionals, but we'll be doing an actual fashion show via the Instagram thing. So. Check out. All right, because I've done very little on Instagram.
Liam's got big plans.
Yeah, when I start really getting stuck into Instagram, our followers are gonna, if there's anything I can bring to this podcast.
Yeah, I've been counting on you for that. This is supposed to be your thing. You haven't stepped up yet, but
it's coming.
All right. So first, quick note. You have some news about Masters Worlds. We're gonna just touch on it here, and I think we're gonna have a bigger discussion about this in the subscribers only pod, but what can you say about Masters Worlds?
Yeah, like everything's been planned and ready to be announced for months now, but I think with a lot of the WFDF events, WFDF have been changing their contract and they can't announce stuff until contracts are signed, but there was no contract for us to sign. I think that was the case for lots of people. So I've been told that all that information with our Worlds and other events will be announced the next day or two. And I'll tell you stuff I'm not supposed to on the subscribers only. So there you go.
Do you know at all if World Club's bids are involved in any of these announcements, or is this... Oh, okay.
You'll have to tune in to subscribers only section to find out, Ravi.
Because I did check that about 4 years ago, it was near mid-September, late September that things were announced. So I'm hoping that's coming somewhat soon. I know a lot of countries that are finishing up their nationals are wondering how many bids they're going to get. So we'll see. Another thing to touch on, the Mesh game, the minority ethnic showcase game, happened in the UK this past weekend. I was playing Swiss National, so I couldn't watch the live stream, but I actually caught some of it on the Send It show that the two Connors do. Connor Hogan, Connor McHale do. They did that last night. We're recording this Tuesday night, so they were doing that last night. Looked like a really fun game. Looked like a really awesome experience. I think all these types of games, the Continent Tour happened in the US, and like these showcases are just awesome and nothing but great things to say about it. Did you catch any of it?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It was, not gonna lie, one of the reasons watched it is just because I was interested to see the game. The second reason was because Lorcan Murray was commentating. Real mesh man.
I haven't seen the official stream yet.
Lorcan did a commentary with a person, a man, Patel. I can't remember his full name. It was the first time doing it. But obviously a big Lorcan fan here. But it was a really good game. Some lots of good plays. I've only watched the first half so far. The first point, the camera work is bad. So I'll just praise you for that. But after that, it gets much better. But yeah, I only, like, I already found out about it as it was happening. I think it was, I watched some of it live, but I had no idea it was happening right until the moment it happened. This is what happens with Brexit. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's going on in the UK, but just don't get the information that doesn't come across. But you can check it out on YouTube now. Ulti.tv did video of the game. And everyone did a great job of playing, organizing it. Interesting to see that happen in Europe. I think it's something that's, the colours of Ultimate and stuff like that has been very prominent in the US and stuff like that in the Ultimate community. And I think this is the first time I've seen something like this in Europe. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was phenomenal. Noticed in that game, which I think Sean Colfer and Rupal Golani are working on writing up a piece on Ultiworld about it. It's probably going to be out by the time this podcast comes out. Maybe it's coming out a little later, but Rupal Golani is really, really good. I had seen her before athletically be amazing, but her throws in that game, she had like a ridiculous backhand hook, a huge hammer. She's a really good player, and I know she's like super gung-ho about Sick. But so I hope either Sick gets a lot better or that she also plays for some other teams. So I'd like to see her play more on the international stage. I think Sick has a world's bid, but I'd love to see what she can do on like a top team somewhere. Okay, next thing to talk about was the Basel Open, which we actually had picks on, Liam. And sad to say for you, I'm not sad to say, I'm happy to say for me. Why would I say it that way? I think I won this one, so we'll just get the picks part out of the way. We can talk a bit more about the results and what they meant. But so the way the semis actually broke down was it was Free Speed, Mooncatchers, Gentle, and Kuzb made the semis, and it was Kuzb, Mooncatchers in the final, Kuzb beating them. So you had called Gentle, Kuzb, MUC, and Red Bulls in the semis, with Kuzb and MUC in the final, with Kuzb winning. So you had 2 out of the 4 semifinals correct. I had Fab, Kuzb, Free Speed, and Moon, with Kuzb and Fab in the final, with Kuzb winning. So I had 3 out of the 4 semifinals correct. So I got one more semifinalist in. That was Free Speed beating Red Bulls 11-10 on Universe was what switched the pricks contest for us. So you're gonna have some words with Davide that he's
definitely holding them back. That's for sure. Yeah, no, it was a good tournament. To watch some of the live streams, whoever did the remote commentary, that's definitely a difficult thing to do. I think it's the first time me watching that happen. But it was great to just see like every game was, elite teams playing against each other. Hadn't seen them in a while. I'm kind of happy with our picks, even though we lost the contest. I thought we still, I think both of us, me calling Gentle, you called Mooncatchers. I think we realized Belgium Ultimate is on the up. And that was kind of before the pandemic, and that's kind of continued out. So,
Very much on the up. I mean, Gentle took Kuz to Universe in pool play. I don't know I don't think that game was streamed, so I don't know what went down there exactly. But I watched the Mooncatchers Kuz final, and Moon looked very good. Like, it wasn't, I don't think Kuz was playing their absolute best. I think they have a notch higher than that, but like Moon looked like a team that could contend with them. And like when those Yonkers brothers are on, it's really hard to stop what they're trying to do out there. And Moon's D-line was also doing stuff. And from what I heard, Moon was missing a lot of players that they're going to have at the XEUCF. Now, sometimes having fewer players helps you out in these types of tournaments because you can click together better. But some of the players they were missing were pretty good. So I think Moon's going to be a team to watch out for. They are in the same pool, Mooncatchers and Kuzb. So, and I believe that game's getting streamed at the XEUCF. So one to watch out for because I went to Universe. Very thrilling game. Mooncatchers had the disc basically, I don't know, maybe 5-10 meters outside their end zone line, and the Czech guy on the team, Pavel Pelican, he got a hand block, and then I think he caught the bookends as well. Caught the score as well. So
yeah, I think he was wearing Podge Sweeney's number 3 jersey as well. Looking pretty good in it. Yeah, that was nice for him. I think he moved there to train with them and stuff like that.
Podge wasn't there, right?
Podge wasn't there. I thought he was for the first few minutes because I saw number 3 and from the zoomed out thing, they almost look a little like each other. But I was like, Podge always has kind of serious sock games. Like, doesn't look like his socks. He has kind of a confident waddle about him as well. It's like, that's not the Podge waddle. And Podge would never get a hand block on a Universe point either as well. So that was the big giveaway when I realized it wasn't Podge.
No, is Podge not a good mark? Is he not? He doesn't get hand blocks usually. Is that not his thing?
Yeah, he actually is. He actually is. I remember in college him hand blocking me twice at one point. So he's definitely actually is he's good at everything in fairness to him.
All right, that's why he got a spot on Kuzb, I guess. So yeah, other results in the tournament. What stood out to you? For me, I thought it was interesting that Free Speed made it out of here. You didn't back them to make semis over teams like MUC and Red Bulls. But yeah, apparently they look pretty good. It was their home turf, to be fair.
Yeah, usually I do pick the home teams as well. I thought Free Speed haven't really gained that many good players the last few years. I think they've struggled, but obviously home advantage played out. I think MUC don't have Schumacher anymore. I think he started playing with Wall City. Schumacher was playing with Munich for a while. So I think that's a loss. I thought they've always looked very good at ECF and just been unlucky, and that's why I picked him at this tournament. It's not a million miles away from Munich either. But yeah, I watched some of their games. Didn't think they were that bad either. I think they was very close between all these teams, actually. It was a hard one to pick.
Yeah, Munich, who did quite low in the tournament, they lost to they did beat ISNO 15-14 in their last game, but they lost to Mooncatchers 12-9. They lost to Red Bulls 10-12. Oh, they beat the Red Bulls 12-10. So yeah, they didn't finish last, I don't think. And I'm trying to find their game against Free Speed. Yeah, that was also a 12-9. So they were a little bit below the top two teams, but they ended up beating the Red Bulls. So Red Bull's not doing as hot as they would have liked. I'm sure Davide wasn't super happy with that, but we'll see what he can do with them in the future. Did you see much of Kuzma playing? And maybe we can, we'll spoil a little bit of our talk for the XEUCF preview, but how do you think their play maybe lined up with what you saw out of Clapham at UKU Nationals? Who do you think is looking? I mean, I think most people think these are the two favorites to make the final. Who do you think looks sharper at this point?
Yeah, Cross have changed up. Lafayette have changed up their lineup quite a bit. I think there's a lot of people who've gone. I think their D-line, they've lost 7 or 8 people that were on the D-line last time. I think you look at, is it Simonazzi?
Chopo got injured.
Simonazzi, Davide. Is it Bruno Mine is gone? Isn't it from the D-line? There's other names I can't think of. I actually chatted to Podge about it, and he's like, yeah, there's, half the D-line has changed. Now, they brought in Barzazzi and other people, and maybe they need more time to gel, and that's why I don't think they looked as hot at the Basel Open. And Clapham did look very good, I think a loss has really fueled them to be the best they could be. You know what I mean? I think now winning this 20 UK titles, going to win that same year, winning the 10th UCF. I think there's this big thing with them. I think they're really trying harder than they probably did last year, but maybe they could be slight favourites going into it, just in how much the Bologna lineup's changed.
Yeah, and the Clapham's lineup hasn't changed at all. Like, they're pretty much the same team they were back in 2019, and they look pretty strong. Not much turnover. All their top players are still around. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Although, I watched a bit of that game that Clapham had against Alba, and that was interesting. Alba just looked really good in that game. But yeah, and the way Clapham was playing there, I don't think they would have beaten CEUCF with that type of play. So I've seen weaknesses on both sides, but yeah, I do agree with you. I think that Clapham kind of has the edge overall from what I've seen at this point, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see in Bruges. Another tournament happened the same weekend. It was much smaller, but it was on the women's side. It was this Bern invite. It wasn't a full tournament. It was just Yaka, Fabulous, and Shout. Basically, all went to Bern and were playing each other. They did a double round robin, except for Fabulous versus Shout, where they only played once. I don't know why. I do know that Fabulous was missing a lot of their players who were playing Swiss Mixed Nationals that weekend. So they had a 12-person roster, I think, and they have a much bigger roster going into Bruges. But it was I think it was 12 of their better. I think most of their top players don't play mixed, so I think it was their top 12, kind of. They beat Yaka 15-11 on the first day, and then Yaka also lost to CEUCF 11-15 that day. So that was what happened on Saturday, just those two games. Then on Sunday, Yaka beat Shout 12-11, and then beat Fabulous 15-8. And then I think that Shout also beat Fabulous by quite a big score line that second day, but I think Fabulous just out of legs. So Shout did take one loss to Yaka, though they did have one win, and they did win by more than they lost by. So I don't know. I don't think we can really rank this one. We tried to do some kind of picks thing, but the results aren't really that open and shut. No. I think I would have won slightly because I picked Yaka over Fabulous, and you picked Fabulous over Yaka, and Yaka and Fabulous traded wins with Yaka having a bigger score line the second time they won. But I don't feel good about that. I'm not taking that as a picks win.
I'm not giving it to you either.
If it was way clear cut, it was in the exact order, I would have been okay with it. But this is too wishy-washy. Some news about those teams. We'll talk way more about this in the XEUCF preview, but I do have it on authority from Robin Fennig herself that she is coming in. She's got her flight. She's coming in. She's figured out the COVID protocols. She's going to be playing for Yaka. She wasn't at this tournament, obviously. Shout have a bunch of good pickups, Aurora Leshnik being one of them. And so, yeah, both those teams are loading up a bit, probably compared to what they had here. So I think both those teams are looking very, very strong. I'll be interested to see if there will be other teams that will contend with them. But I think they're kind of the two outright favorites right now, given that all the Russians aren't going to be there. Gravity's down a couple of their top players. And seems like they're the favorites, but we'll get more into that next week. Anything else you have to say about these tournaments that happened in Switzerland before we move on?
I'm just glad it's easier for Robin Fennig to come here than the Brits to come to Bruges. That's great. I'm delighted that she's able to come and most of the English are not. Yeah, I know
they are able. They're just not willing.
I heard there was a scout over in Basel as well, scouting the women's division, supposedly.
In Bern.
Bern. Yeah, sorry.
There was a scout. Yeah, there was a scout. Trying to find. I think I saw his name on Ultimate Central. Was Janirshko Dortiova.
Never heard of him.
Which is the coach of a certain Czech women's team.
Yeah. Read into that what you will.
Let's just say he's a bit of a rebel. We'll see if people can figure that out. I don't know how many people would be able to put that together. Probably not many people know what we're talking about, but I'm sure some people do. Apparently somebody was over there filming games. I had a friend on Shout who asked me, is there some Irish person filming games for Gravity? At this tournament? Do you know anything about that? And so I did a little bit of digging, and apparently this person's not filming games for Gravity, but for a different team. So if you can find an Irish person that's involved in another team, maybe you'll figure out who this person was.
Connor Hogan, up to no good, getting extended clips.
Can't be Connor Hogan. He's in the UK. He can't come over. It's too. It would be very, very. That's a lot of commitment to come over and quarantine or take your test so that you can like scout games for a tournament you're not going to.
Oh yeah, he's not going. Gas.
But yeah. Yeah. Another bit of news. Germany put out their World Games extended roster. I don't think I've written this on Ulti World. Probably it's on my to-do list of something I'm supposed to do. But they had a really long list of players. They had 2 tryout weekends, and now they have a list of about 30 players, like 14, 15 women, 14, 15 men on the list. Not that many surprises there. One surprise is Kyoko Hosokawa, who is listed with an asterisk because she's an extended tryout. From what I was told, she wasn't on the initial like tryout list because I think she had just had a kid and wasn't sure if she could commit. But I was told that she still looks really, really fit and is definitely still in consideration. So she's a quote unquote extended tryout, but I think she's just kind of part of this list. Mel Kashnitsky, sorry if I said that wrong. Kashinsky, I think, from Mainz is not there. I've heard she's focusing on other things, wants to focus on WCC. So she was one of the people that I had pegged for being a top contender, but wasn't there. But apparently that was her choice. And aside from that, I think most of the top people are there. Anything step out to you looking at this list?
Just that Linnea, like Seibert, is now using her German citizenship. So I appreciate her multicultural background there and abusing it to her best. But yeah, I think it's everyone exactly who you'd think would be on it. And yeah, these are probably were the easy decisions. It's whittling it down to next few is maybe a little more tricky.
Yeah. Torben Horschenmeyer's on there. I think he's a up and coming player. He's on the Kuz Blafota D line now. He's moved over there. So yeah, he's a younger player, but I think he from what I've heard, he has a pretty good shot. Actually, he's become very, very good in the last couple of years. But yeah, it's typical names. I don't think we need to list all of them on the podcast here, but it's going to be a good team. I still contend that this is going to be probably the top World Games team out of Europe and has the best chance of cracking one of the top teams. But the problem is German national teams tend to kind of choke at big events, so I hope that they don't have that going with them into World Games. Okay, so now I think we can get into... Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back soon, going to round up a bunch of national tournaments, and then we'll start to get into more XEUCF stuff. A bunch of different national type things. Some of them were real national championships. Some of them were other things. Happened in the last couple weeks, so I wanted to just go through some of them, talk about who are the national champions now. A lot of these teams are coming together, playing nationals after 2 years off. So interesting to see if anything's changed. Germany had this tournament, which isn't even their WCC qualifier. They're having a separate qualifier later, but it was like the top teams from each division came and played each other in this like just random tournament that apparently isn't nationals, was called a restart tournament or whatever. But to me, it kind of felt like German nationals, so I'm going to report it that way. Women's division, Mainzelmädchen beat Jinx, and Jinx is a team, I don't know if we've talked about them on the podcast yet, but their roster is looking very, very strong from Berlin. They're going to be at XEUCF. They have a lot of these players on this German World Games team on this list or on that Jinx squad, and Mainz still beat them. And I don't know if Kyoko Hosokawa was playing or not, but like that's interesting. But Mainz are focusing these next 2 seasons on mixed. And so they just went out there to play women's, but they're planning to go to the World Championships as a mixed team. They're going to XEUCF as a mixed team. So that worries me a bit. I thought Jinx would kind of be a contender. I don't know how complete their roster was, but they're not even beating Mainz, who doesn't typically do that well at the UCF tournaments. Kind of puts a little bit of a question mark for me looking at that results. And in the open division, Bad Skid beat Wall City on Universe to win the tournament. But I think the more interesting news that people saw was that Wall City beat Bad Skid the day before that, 15-8, like crushed Bad Skid. To be fair, Holger wasn't there the first day, and he was there the second day. And on that note, Holger actually got injured in the final of this tournament, and from what I've heard, it was kind of a bad one. So I'm not sure if he's going to be playing in Bruges. We'll have to find out. If anyone knows anything about that, please let us know. But anyways, that aside, Wall City crushing Bad Skid 15-8 in pool play. Very interesting stuff. Did you catch any of these games at all, Liam?
I saw little snippets and I heard whispers about it. I won't be too worried about Bad Skid losing that first day. They're definitely a team that know when the big games matter. And you said about Hogan not being there, they probably knew it didn't make actually any difference and were running their lines. And genuinely, that's what I would think, that they were probably not too worried about losing that game. That's what I just, from knowing the team, that's my thoughts. I think Wall City look amazing. I think both the Berlin teams are going to shake things up. I think, as I mentioned earlier, Schumacher playing with Wall City, that's a great experience. Someone who's won a lot of stuff, something that, Wall City was maybe lacking. You talk about Konrad Schloor playing with them. I think, it's probably been a surprise that they haven't had better teams out of Berlin, and there've been so many good players there. So I think this is their year to turn up and try and take some scalps.
Yeah, I'm hoping Konrad Schloor is at Bruges. He's on the roster right now on the Ultimate Central, but I have heard some rumblings that he's going to the US to play with Pony for Nationals or something like that. So I'm not sure if he's already made that trip. I hope he's still around because Nationals isn't until the end of October, but he might have had to go down for regionals. Anyways, he looked amazing playing with them as he usually does. And I saw the defense that they used to beat Bad Skid. It reminded me a lot of like Pony's defense. So it's definitely, he's taking some of that knowledge over, bringing it over to Wall City. And that's really cool to see. Could be a really big year for Berlin, I think. And both the men's and women's teams look very strong and could do some good things in Bruges if they bring their full teams. Other than that, I know Steph Doscher was playing with Arslu Dendi. They also made semifinals. Didn't make the final, but he will be transferring. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast yet, but he's going to be playing with Bad Skid. Steph Doscher, if you don't know, was one of the top players on Hässliche Erdferkel when they were in there being kind of around the top of Europe. And he was one of the best players on the German national team in 2019 Open. And now he seems to have crossed over to Open and is trying to play a little more of that. And so played with Arslu Dendi from Darmstadt in this restart tournament, but we'll be playing with Bad Skid at XEUCF. I'm sure they just love playing with him on the German national teams. They probably just invited him over. What do you think about that little roster addition for Bad Skid?
Yeah, because it's literally, I think they've always been missing one or two players just to bulk up the roster. And obviously we saw him with the German national men's team was amazing. And he says maybe he suits Open better than he suits mixed. He was one of the best players in the division in mixed. Sucks for Hässliche Erdferkel.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
So we already mentioned Switzerland mixed nationals. That happened. Zurich was the winner of that. In the Czech Republic, they had their Open and Women's Nationals. 3SB took the three-peat. They won mixed nationals earlier, and then an Open and Women's, which was this past 2 weekends ago. They won both of those as well. So I think they won over Fui and Open. And so, yeah, they won all three nationals.
3SB Pete.
As 3SB. 3SB Pete.
You can have that one. You can have that one, Rahel.
All Ireland's happened. You want to talk about that, or do you not want to talk about that?
Did they? I think they got cancelled or something. I don't think it actually did happen. Yeah, it happened. Women's division first. Gravity won, unsurprisingly. 13-5 in the final against Rebel. They actually had
13-5.
Yeah, they actually had. I remember they're going to have a showcase game before the pandemic, which is like Ireland versus GB, and they were going to do this like live stream of Pundit Arena kind of a thing. It was a big hype in the stadium and stuff about it, and which would have been great, but unfortunately didn't happen. I don't know if this is an extension of that, but that social media platform Pundit Arena, which is kind of big in Ireland, said they come and stream women's nationals, so they did. So they came and streamed a lot of games, 8-9 games, something like that, like field one all day. of women's nationals, and like the camera's really good, the footage is really good. They had a really professional setup, probably more professional than most of the ultimate coverage. And they had a professional commentator, someone who did somebody who works for them that doesn't obviously know the sport that well, but I actually thought I can't remember his name, he did a good job. But they had Jen Kwan came on, did some commentary, Aoife Blake, which was good to see. And yeah, all the footage is amazing, and your man was funny. I think every time someone scored like 3 goals in the game, he's like, hat-trick hero, like whatever, or Hannah Wilson, whatever. It was kind of funny. You had little things he was saying that was just like adapted from other sports. So I appreciate that. Coverage is great, but there's just a lot of disparity in the women's division in Ireland. Like one of the semi-finals was, a bagel, 13-0,
Was that Gravity?
Yeah, it was Rebel versus Pelt. And Rebel won.
Oh no.
They played earlier on in the tournament, it was not a bagel. I don't know what happened to them. But I don't really think there was any close games in the division nor on the live stream, or certainly not in the bracket play. Yeesh. Which is just unfortunate. Like when you're watching, it's actually there's some of the best players in Europe on the field, and it is great ultimate happening. But I always find I like watching games that are competitive, probably more so than I could watch 2 summer league teams that suck, but if it's a close game, I find it more enjoyable than watching Rebel bagel some team. You know what I mean? It's just not. Even though the standard might be better, it's not as entertaining as a spectacle. So that was kind of unfortunate for the live stream thing. But it's kind of cool that they did it. And you can go look at it at Pundit Arena if you go to their video section on Facebook. They did it live on Facebook. It was nice that they invested time and money into the sport. They then packed up and left as soon as the men's division happened. They're like, oh God, please don't film any of the men. Please, no, nobody. So you won't see any of the men's division. God forbid. Who wants to see it anyway?
What was there anything about their broadcast that we could learn from as ultimate broadcasters that they brought, to the broadcast that you liked?
I like the hat-trick hero thing. I think we should carry that into the future. They were good at doing close-ups on the camera work.
More clever Irish commentators. That's what we learned.
Yeah, we just are naturally better than everyone. That's definitely one thing I learned. I thought Aoife Blake and Jen Kwan did a good job. They always had a female colour commentator with him, which was a selection box of women from Ireland. And yeah, that was good. They had a pretty good setup in terms of when it's usually ulti.tv and it's a crappy tent that could blow away and they were all hiding from wind. They had a pretty serious scaffolding set up and other information. I don't know. I still think we're better. Than it, to be honest. But the cameras are definitely better. You just, when you're just looking, I don't know cameras that well, but when you're just watching the same thing, the definition and the colors are just better. So, yeah. Men's division, or open division, sorry. None of the... I guess there was some close enough games. It was obviously Pelt Ranelagh in the final. The quarter, we go down in every game. We went down in the quarters, I think 3-4-0 against Tribe, which is the Galway team, but beat them. Had a good game against Ranelagh too. Keith Murnau was playing with them, but I don't think he was fully back fit or playing. And Dark Heller was playing with them, but he was injured by the time it came to us. They have Ranelagh 2 have won Irish Nationals before. They have such strength and depth in their squad that I think it's always a good thing for them to. I know the last tournament I thought they should have sent it because it does tire us out playing Ranelagh 2 before playing Ranelagh 1, and it is a competitive game. They do have good players, you know what I mean? So Rebel have really fallen off a cliff. I don't know where if they finished 7th, but I even saw the Rebel team. I don't know who any of them were. There used to be a time where it was Nick Peters, but there used to be a time where half the Irish men's team was Rebel, and they were such a. I remember them winning Irish Nationals before 13-2 or something. There's 7-8 years ago, but there was a time when they were such a colossal squad, and there's just Tribe were on the up, and Ranelagh 2, XVI have been scraped of a lot of their talent. They still have some good players, but and then it got to the final, which is always great. Pelt versus Ranelagh. Started off very heated. There was some pushing and shoving at the start with people and things, and we're like, oh God. And I think we took We took an early lead. I think we definitely got 2 breaks early on. I think we might have been up like 3-2 or 2-1 or something like that early on in the game. And I was like, all right, this is feeling good. And like they kind of had 1 or 2 little drops, and they haven't done it all tournament. I was like, maybe they're going to get spooked again. Maybe they're going to like make mistakes and we're going to just rise up and beat them. But that really didn't happen. That really didn't happen. After kind of the first quarter, they were just very dominant. They had a lot of good balance on their O-line. Matthew Feely, Frida Rogers just don't really throw the disc away. Ty Deavy, definitely think MVP of the game, has become an unstoppable cutter. So good. Gotten really, really good. Luke Doyle. Downfield just have some really good athletes that have really smartened up. And then Ferdy and Feely just very solid handlers and very smart handlers. And we struggle to get the disc off him for the rest of the game. I think usually I could say like I scored a break. I did a little bit of involvement, but there's players like me, probably like me, Mark Fanning, Darren Scully, people are a bit older now, and like we couldn't put them up under any pressure. And that's probably why we lost the game. I actually thought the O-line played well for us. Pod Sweeney was, did as much as he could do. There was a lot of good players on the O-line. Killian Flynn played great for us. Soup, Owen Lawler played great. I think it was 15-10, 15-11 in the end, but like they were just a lot better. And actually, they were very spirited. We had Nick Smith came on as a game advisor. It was his birthday. Usually I don't like game advisors, and I argued with him at the start of the game about rules and what were the right rules. But I think it was good just to have him in. We're talking about like little tight calls and ones that I think would have been sent back or talked about for ages. In particular, Ranelagh, if Dom kind of told us that it was the foul, they retracted. I think they were very spirited. I think Ian French as a coach, I think probably the best thing he did for them was at the start it was a very heated game. And that kind of suits us. And he was just like shouting at them the whole time. He was like, calm down. Don't get riled up. And I think that's probably like the best thing he did for him as a coach, because I think the more riled and scrappy the game is, the more we excel. Well, it actually came quite a quiet game, and it came like just, they were very calm and they won the game. So look, they're the better team. They played the better game. We've known that for a while. We've been kind of clutching on, and usually, we've been in underdogs a couple of times and won it. So, I think it's it's going to be very hard for us to get it back off them now. I think losing it a couple of times and they probably should have won it has helped them, and they're so motivated now. And they're like a great roster. I think they're going to do very well in the XEUCF. That's a lot of talking about Ireland. Let's move on from this.
All right. Yeah. Well, I do have one question about it, because this was World's qualification, this All Ireland's. So that's my question is for Pelt. Given that you came second here, last time around, you ended up getting a late second bid with Pelt, but you're also, if I'm correct, the All Ireland's mixed champions right now. So you could probably choose to like wait out for that World's second bid, take the mixed bid, or not go. Do you know which way Pelt is leaning right now on those three options?
I'd say it's mixed, to be honest. I don't know if there's any plans to have a mixed qualifier, but I'd say it's probably too late to have it now. We didn't have a mixed nationals this year. I think we'd win it, presuming that
I mean, you won that qualifier for UCF anyways, so that's
I think,
which was one game. But
I think we're most of with the Ranelagh men going for that, and the Gravity women presumably going for that. I don't think there's a mixed squad that could put together to beat us. And I think our women have been just as probably more committed than we have. And I think there'll be some lads that probably don't want to go to Cincinnati again. We struggled to get pickups to go last time. So I think, I think the women will be their first time going. I'll be 99% sure, even with all the options, whatever, we'd go mixed. I think Pelt are a mixed team now. I think that's
all right.
I think so.
I'm excited to see what you look like. Well, I mean, I'm excited to see what you look like in Bruges, because I've never seen Pelt play mixed before, so it's a new look for me.
We're gonna smash everyone.
But let's move on a bit. You're gonna smash everyone, yeah. You got Salisbury's in your pool. I'm gonna see how that goes for you. But so moving on, Denmark, KFK finally got their title. They did that by absorbing half of Ragnarok and having the other half retire. I think that's the good strategy that they employed because nothing else seemed to have worked for them. Copenhagen Hucks got it over Aarhus, but Copenhagen Hucks are not the team going to XEUCF. There's a team called Dedicated Ultimate Copenhagen. So I don't know what's going on with the women's scene in Denmark. Someone, if you're listening to this and you know how all that, the politics of what's going on in Copenhagen Ultimate in the women's division, let me know. I'm curious because there's a different team that won compared to the team name that's actually going to the international tournament. So I don't know what's going on there. But otherwise, Salaspils, who, for those of you who don't know, is a Latvian team, won Lithuanian nationals, apparently. There was apparently Lithuanian nationals with 3 teams. One of them was Salaspils, and Salaspils won, even though they're not from Lithuania. So
tomato.
Weird.
You know, it's kind of all the one. They're the Balkan states that we call them. Do people call them that anymore?
Yeah, Balkan and Baltic. I get those confused, and I know they're very different.
Well, they're one of them. And they won something over there.
I think it's Baltic. I think that anyways, I'm sure someone will yell at us in the comments.
We've offended somebody there. We've definitely offended somebody.
We've definitely offended somebody, yeah. Do they speak English, the person we've offended? I'm not sure.
Do we care?
In Russia, interestingly enough, I heard Cosmic Girls were kind of on the out, but they won Russian nationals. Especially the Pustavaya sisters came back and won it with their St. Petersburg team. Now there's Cosmic Girls have this Moscow and St. Petersburg contingent, 2 different pods that come together and play. And yeah, they won it apparently pretty convincingly. And that wasn't that big of a shocker. I think if you had seen those rosters, you wouldn't be so surprised. But the bigger surprise was in the open division that Sokol from Moscow, who's been kind of an okay team. Sometimes they play internationally, but they don't usually do that well. Beat Real 5, who made semis of EUCF back in 2019. So I think that's Real 5 been looking like this team that's going to, take the international stage. But sometimes those teams get beat at home. And I don't know if Sokol has more players that can't play internationally and they what exactly happened there. We'll have to get more words from Ned. I'm sure he can tell us more about that at some point. But yeah, I'm curious if I also don't know if this was the world's qualifying tournament for them. And if it was, I'd be very disappointed if Real 5 aren't going to be going to Worlds because I'd really liked what I saw to them at UCF 2019. So I hope Russia gets 2 bids if this was the world's qualifying year. Did you catch any of that game at all? It's actually a pretty good game.
I watched the Universe Point. I don't know who shared it with me or where I saw it, but it's the Universe Point. That was a bit spicy. And yeah, I've played Sokol and I've always thought they were a level below Real 5. But as you said, maybe it's hard for Russians to travel, etc. What was the score? 11-10. Maybe it was kind of a scrappy. Did you watch the whole game?
I watched most of it, but I watched a lot of games recently, and this was a couple of weeks ago, so I can't remember too much. Except that, yeah, I think it was a bit scrappy. Was definitely very physical, and Sokol got the Universe Point win out. Some pretty big plays that they had to make to get that Universe Point, but they got it and won it. And it looked like all the top Real 5 players were there. It wasn't like they were missing people. I saw Beef there. I saw the Buchakov brothers. I saw Kudobin was there. All the, big names that I would have thought maybe they were missing somebody. No, they had their team, but Sokol just beat them. And that can happen. You've said, you were just saying earlier, you're the underdogs, but Ranelagh so well that even if you're the underdogs against them, you kind of know how to beat them. And maybe that's what's going on in Russia as well. We'll have to see how that plays out in the future. No Russian teams are coming to Bruges, so we're not going to see them there. The old Sputnik was not approved, as we talked about in the last podcast. So that does it. I mean, there might have been a couple other national tournaments, but I think we've talked a little bit over about nationals. So we can get a little bit into XEUCF. We're not going to go too deep into it. But one thing is that we can finalize that picks contest. So 2 episodes ago, we had a picks contest, and we tried to guess which teams were going to take the bids from different countries. Last podcast we had we kind of looked at the current list and to see how we were doing. And this list, I'm not going to go through the whole list. I'm just going to go through what got us each the points, and who won with what. So the way we were doing it was we just like would go like, okay, Germany has 2 bids. Who got, who are those 2 teams or whatever? And then I'd pick 2 teams, you'd pick 2 teams. So a lot of it there was a lot of overlap. So I'm not going to go through all the overlap. And if you want to see the full list of XEUCF teams, you can find that anywhere. But going through the divisions, we'll start in Open. The differences that got people points was that I guessed Wall City in Germany, which you didn't guess. I guessed Ranelagh in Ireland, which you guessed Pelt, obviously. And I guessed the bridge in Poland, and you guessed Uprising. So that gave me 3 points over you. And the only point you got in Open was guessing that Slovenia would be a no-show, and I guessed that Cosmo would come. we allowed guesses for no-shows, and these are most of your points for guessing no-shows, correct?
That was my bet. I should have guessed more no-shows. Is the take-home message. If I probably went all no-shows, that would have been my best chance. So don't be hating on the no-show guests. And I think,
So in terms of that, I beat you 3-1 in Open. I also beat you 3-1 in Women's, where I picked Jaka. I think you picked Nantes. I picked Heidelbarschen in Germany. I think you picked Seagulls. I picked Valkyries, which is actually Valkyria, but you gave me that one. But even without that one, I still win the women's division. So whether we give it to me or not, your only point over me was, again, picking Spain being a no-show, whereas I picked the one Spanish women's team that I could think of.
Sleepy siesta Spanish. Coming in, Liam on the Spaniards.
But I still take you Open and Women's 3-1. In mixed, I also got 3 points. So I got 3 points in every single division. I had Guayota, Puti, and Orebro as my 3 that you didn't pick. I think you had given no shows to Finland and Sweden there, but they didn't come through for you that time. I think you also gave a no show for Guayota, so you also lost all your points on no shows.
It's a risky game. It's a risky game.
And in the mixed division, you got 3 points on no shows that I didn't guess. So you got Lithuania, Portugal, and Estonia, and I had guessed Voride, Discover, and Sexy Legs. So you got 3 points on no shows. So that evened out. And then you guessed Pelt getting the mixed bid, and you guessed Colorado from Germany. So you actually got 5 points in mixed. So overall, I got Open and Women's, and you got mixed. So you're just a mixed guy now. Pelt's a mixed team. You're just the mixed correspondent now for Eurozone.
I know so much about mixed. Captain the Irish mixed team. You know what I mean? I've always been a mixed man, really.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
That's your game.
Because now, when you get old, you get mixedy.
Okay, so sticking on the XEUCF, again, we're going to do a bigger preview next week, but the pools are out and the formats are out. So I'll just go through them real quick, and we just give like some initial impressions of maybe which pools look to be like the strongest, which pools look like the toughest team, pools to get out of and whatnot. We'll start in the mixed division. The way the mixed division works is there are 20 teams. There's 4 pools of 5 teams, and you get first place in your pool. You go directly to quarterfinals, and then the second and third place teams will play a crossover. So you have to play kind of a pre-quarter. So if you make top 3 in your pool, you're still in the bracket. That's the way it works. So Pool A in the mixed division is Hrut, Colorado, Guayota, Glory Owls, and Fly High. Pool B, Salaspils, Monkey, that's from Grenoble, France, Hessische Erdviertel, Red Shot, and Pelt. Pool C, we got Puti from Finland, Leftovers from the Czech Republic, Ketchup from Austria, Puk from France, and Kvum Orebro from Sweden. And Pool D, we have Flow from Poland, Mainzelrenner from Germany, Seskadistis, Flying Rabbits from Belgium, the Flabbits. They got you a point too. I don't think I counted that. I should have counted that somewhere. But and UFO from the Netherlands. So looking at this slate of mixed pools, anything with first impressions? First of all, what do you think? What do you think about your Pool B there? You got Salspils, Monkey, Erdviertel, and Red Shot. That's the Bologna mixed team that you got to go.
Yeah, I think it is the pool of death, just because we're seated so low. I feel that we should have been seated higher. Like, does it not base off your regional strength, or was going off country strength or something like that? I feel like we should have been Smog or something.
I mean, no, yeah, I think it's country strength, not regional strength. But didn't Rebel do like really well in 2018?
Came third. They came
at UCF. Didn't they come like semifinal? Yeah, they came third. That was the last Irish mixed team to go to UCF. So, but no Irish mixed teams went in 2019. I don't know exactly how they did the seeding, but Yeah, I think there could be a shout for you to get a higher seed, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, the pools are all mixed up. We haven't played in 2 years, so I don't think the seeding's that important.
Yeah, I think a Red Bull, like a cusp team, are never going to be bad. You know what I mean? I'd say they're probably not going to have any superstars, but anyone that I've ever seen come out of there can throw and can run and can be organized. I genuinely mean that, like, as in, I think our best players are going to be better than their best players, but I think they're a team that's probably trained a lot more than us and touched the disc a lot more, and it's probably going to be maybe better coached even. That's, I think. Yeah, it's just so many players out of Bologna. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all really good. Hasseltje Erdverkel, how good are they going to be without Steph Duscher? Is everyone else there just missing him?
I didn't see Nora Wilkening, who's like their best women's player. Chris Hamann is coming back. They have Lasse Hogan, so they have a couple good players, but I think they don't look quite as good as they would normally. I wouldn't count on them to be a semis contender.
Yeah,
or anything.
I think as a third seeded team in the group, though, I think they were like, I would have preferred maybe, I don't know, maybe, it's hard to tell. It's hard to know what to quantify them without those players.
I think that looking at it, I think they're the weakest third seed that I can see.
Okay.
So you got the other three seeds are Guayota, who I think are going to be really good. Guayota are like a very athletic team, and they came out to that Bologna invite as an open team and beat Clapham. Like their guys are really strong. They're typically good on beach, but I think they're going to be a good team. Ketchup from Austria, they're taking things really seriously. Oh, I think I forgot to mention them in the Nationals Roundup. They won the Open division, and I think their women came second. I think Box won the women's division. So, but the catch-up team is focusing on mixed, and they're apparently looking for worlds, and they're pretty strong. And Cescadistas is a really strong team from France. So I don't know. I think I favor Erdverkel as the weakest.
Okay, so we beat them. Monkey,
3 seed.
You probably know more than I do. Like who's their best players? Who's running the show?
Well, Moby's on the team.
Moby's on the team. Oh, well then they were definitely going to beat them then.
Yeah. You guys gotta have a scuba off. You guys see who has the best scuba in that game between you and Moby. That's the most important thing about that game.
Stream that one, and I will throw one further than him. Does that have to be completed?
It has to be a completed scuba. It has to be completed. It has to be a completed scuba. Who has the furthest completed scuba in that game? That's all I care about. But yeah, looking at these other pools, I'm excited about Guayota. I'm excited about Ketchup. I'm excited about Mainzelrenner. I think Mainz, their women have been really strong for a long time. I saw some of the men there on their team. They look really good. I do think Krut and Salisbury are still pretty favorites to get in there. Krut's bringing 28 people, though. They're they're kind of using this as a tryout for Worlds, I think. They're bringing a huge squad, which they've typically been like a small squad of friends. The people they're bringing aren't bad. The extra people they're bringing aren't bad, but I'm curious. It's going to be a very different dynamic than they're used to. So I kind of actually favor Salisbury a little bit over them because of that. But I also think Putty are very good. Putty's roster looks stronger than the roster that went in 2019, where they lost out on Universe, I think, in semis against Salisbury. So they I think will also be a contender to make it. Yeah. But aside from those three, Flo could be up there with them, but they beat Salisbury in pool play in 2019. They're very athletic. But they're bringing Wrocław is bringing 3 teams to this tournament, bringing a women's mixed and an open team. I'm curious if I haven't looked at the rosters, but I'm curious if they lost some players. Because I think in 2019 they only brought the mixed team, so I'm curious if some of those players have gone to the other teams compared to who came before. But yeah, I kind of see Krut, Salisbury, and Putty being the top 3. But anything else in mixed before we move on?
Are you not excited to see Pelt smash things? And are you not?
Well, we just talked about Pelt. We talked about Pelt's whole pool. Yeah, I'm very excited. I am very excited to see Pelt.
Better than anyone else. I can tell you that much.
I hope you break seed. It'll be embarrassing if you don't break seed.
I know, yeah. It's actually because it's as long as we get out of the group, we'll win games after the bracket. It's just the first. I actually want to play Salisbury's first because I think our first game we might not have gelled yet, and I just don't want to play one of the weaker teams and lose. Well, if we play Salisbury's and we lose, I don't think it's actually a big deal. in the group stage, but I don't want to lose to one of the other teams because we haven't warmed up. And I think Salisbury's would kick us into gear, you know. I think if we played Salisbury's first, it would shake us around a bit and then make the rest of the team seem easier. That's what I hope. I presume we're probably going to play them first. First plays bottom seed, right? Usually, you think.
Sometimes, yeah. I haven't looked. I've seen the schedule, but I haven't looked that deeply. I wasn't looking at what is the exact order of pools games in XB. That wasn't the first thing I was looking at in the schedule. So
you've seen the schedule. Have I seen the schedule? Is there a schedule?
You probably haven't seen the schedule. I have seen the schedule. But
will you stream Pelt versus somebody? Maybe Salisbury. If like in terms of top versus bottom seed, I think that's gonna be the best game.
Yes, it is probably the best. I would say the best top versus bottom seed game. Putti versus Orebro, I would say, would probably be the next best one. I think Orebro are actually going to be a good team. A lot of those like young players that were at European indoors, I think, are coming up now and are going to make them a lot stronger team than before. And I think as mixed, they've gone like in open and women's before, and I don't think they're quite deep enough to do that well there. Whereas if they bring their top men and top women together, I think they're actually going to have a much stronger team. So I think they're a very dangerous bottom seed as well. Okay. In the women's division, 17 teams. Very awkward for a format to make a format with 17 teams. But so there's going to be 3 pools of 4 and 1 pool of 5. No matter which pool you're in, you win your division, you go into power pools. If you get second or third in a... Wait, let me just make sure this works. Read this correctly. The second place of the pool of 5, so pool D, also goes to power pools directly. And then the second and third place teams of the other pools play like a crossover thing to get into power pools. So their power pools, they don't bring any games into them. And then you play a kind of a whole fresh new power pool. I think 2 power pools of 4. And then the top 2 from each power pool make semis. And that's kind of how it works. So it's a little more forgiving than the women's division usually is, where it's like 2 pools of 6 and only top 2 make semis. You still have some room to make an error before getting into the bracket, but it's still pretty brutal. So pool A is Shout, Fabulous, Terrible Monkeys from Prague, and Valkyria from Stockholm. Pool B, Jaka, Heidelbarschen from Germany, Box from Vienna, Flowers, which is another Wrocław, Poland team. Pool C, Gravity, Dublin, 3SB, Love, which is their Love. They're officially the team from Leuven, Belgium, but they're basically the Belgian national team from what I've seen on the roster. So that's actually going to be pretty good team. I think Gentle and Love have kind of combined to make a team for this tournament. And Mantis from Vienna. And then Pool D, which is the pool of 5, is Jinx from Berlin, we talked about before. Troubles from Warsaw, Poland. Free Speed, Women. Dedicated Ultimate Copenhagen from Denmark, and Disco Bolo, which is like the non-CUSB club in Bologna, is the bottom seed of the tournament, so the 5 seed of that pool WD. Anything stick out to you here, Liam? What are you excited to see from these pools? I think
it's pretty balanced division. Like I think the likes of Flowers and Mantis coming in as bottom seeds, and Valkyria, like I think they could all finish top or second in their group, to be honest. I think it's a very balanced. I think the pool of 5, like it seems like it's an advantage to be in the pool of 5. And I don't think it's maybe as strong. So I think they've got like maybe a little lucky there. Interesting to see how Gravity do without Sarah Melvin, Fiona Murna. We talk so much about them. I'd say they're probably annoyed about us talking about them, but it's time for the likes of Anya Gahini and Jessica Chambers and those kind of step up and prove that they're, there's much more to the roster, but we'll find out, I think. I think what we've seen of Jinx, it'd be interesting to see how they get on. I think they could be the team to make semis that haven't made it before, recently anyway.
Yeah, and we'll have that John Dock coaching 3SB. It's a little Ireland versus Ireland matchup there, which could be interesting. I'm sure he knows Gravity pretty well, so he's probably using all that knowledge he can to boost up 3SB. He told me not to talk about them, so I'm going to talk.
He also messaged me and was like, "Don't."
They're probably a strong team. They want.
Yeah, no, he asked me not to talk about it as well. And I was like, I don't think anyone cares that you scouted somebody once. Like, I'm like, why does it matter? And he's like, well, then no, we might be good then. It's like, I think they're going to think you're good anyway. I don't think just because you were videoing stuff is going to make them like suddenly change your approach to the game differently. I don't see what the logic is to him, like us not talking about it, but obviously we're going to.
Do you see most of the logic behind things that John Dock does?
But sometimes it works. Sometimes it's
pretty standard for him.
Like, sometimes if I was watching his coaching, I'd be like, everything I say he does, I'd probably say the opposite. But then sometimes it works, and he gets teams riled up. And like, I think him and Rachel play a similar style of just lashing it, and they can probably relate to that or something.
Yeah, I'm excited. On elsewhere in the division. Valkyria. This Valkyria team has the Eklund sisters. It has Barbara Kundalite, which was from Drop That Smile, also a Eurostars player. Saskia Bake, who is one of the Germany World Games players, is on that roster too, and some other good players from Sweden. So I think this is going to be I think people shouldn't sleep on this Valkyria team. I think Terrible Monkeys probably will have a hard time keeping up with them. I think the top three on that group are going to be Shout Fabulous and Valkyria, and I think Valkyria could steal some wins from those teams from the south as well. I think I'm also excited to see Free Speed. Leif Waljak is on that team, and she's always really fun to watch. She played really, really well with Revolution in the Premier Ultimate League. I saw her play. I think it's the best Ultimate I've seen her play by far, and if she can bring that energy to Free Speed, that's could be a good team. So yeah, I'm really excited about this division. I think it's going to be a really good division. I do think Yaka and Shout are like maybe a notch above the rest, with Jinx kind of nipping at them. I mean, maybe Jinx will be way better than I think, but like I still feel that Yaka and Shout have a bit more experience at this level, and maybe still the favorites. But after that, there's a lot of teams that could be in contention. Okay, the Open division. So this is a much bigger, as per usual, the much bigger division than the other ones. 30 teams here. In pool play, 2 of the pools are 3-team pools, and 6 of the pools are 4-team pools. So top 2 from each pool go to power pools, and then the first place from each power pool go to quarters, and the second and third place from each power pool go to crossover for pre-quarters. So a lot of room for error. You have to get top 2 in your pool, though, to advance out. That's the big thing to worry about from this first round. So I'll go through the pools real quick, and again, we won't go into too much detail. We've already gone over an hour here, so we'll try and keep this brief and talk about it more next week. But Pool A, Clapham, Big Easy, Is No Good. Pool B, La Fota, Mooncatchers. We talked about that matchup before. Terrible Monkeys from Prague. Pool C, Fui, Fab, XVI, and the Bora Bears, which is a combination of Bora and the Frizzly Bears, I think. 2 teams getting there. You can see that EUF has been pretty forgiving in letting teams in at this tournament. They're letting like combination teams at the bottom of the German divisions come. So they're really trying to fill it in. They couldn't get to 32, which would have made the division a lot better, but they did what they could. Pool D, Bad Skid, Costa Rica from Rimini, Italy, Smashed are they from London or from Cambridge? I think they're from all over the UK pretty much. And the Prague Devils. Pool E, you got Ranelagh, MUC, Forward, and Odin, which is the kind of the counterpart to Valkyria, another Stockholm team. Pool F, Free Speed, Gentle, New Age from Israel, Outseaters, that's a Slovakian team. Pool G is Red Bulls from Bologna, KFK, Krakens from Barcelona, Jet Set from Belgium, and then Pool H is Chak, Wall City from Berlin, talked about them all before already, The Bridge from Wrocław, Poland, and Panthers from Bern, so second Bern team going to be there. So again, not going too much into detail here. What are you excited about with the Open division?
Hard to say. I can really see every single group going to seed for the most part. I think Smash D might have a chance of beating Costa Rica. I think Ranelagh, I think going to do really well, but they have a tough pool. I think that's might be the toughest pool. Open E. Yeah, so what's Cutthroat is about, you could end up in a 3-way tie in the Open thing and be knocked out, or that's the Cutthroat part is that first pool. I don't know how good Odin are going to be, but I'd say they're probably actually be all right. And New Age got a tough. I think they a team that I would like to see go a little further, but they get past Gentle and Free Speed first. So yeah, I can see pretty much everything going to see it. I don't know. Can you see anyone?
I agree with you that I don't think that many third place teams have a shot to go up. Maybe Is No Good over the Big EZ. I think that's one that could go Paris's way. Steph Rapazzo, the coach, probably would love us to say that. And aside from that, like Forward could beat MUC. I think that could happen. And I don't know how good this Kraken's team is. I'm curious from Spain. I know that they're but to get over KFK and Red Bulls, I don't really see it happening. So yeah, I think that I do think a lot of those 1-2 seeds could flip. Like Chalk Wall City, that could go either way. Red Bulls KFK could go either way. Free Speed Gentle could go either way. MUC Ranelagh. The others, maybe Fui Fab, and of course Lafota Mooncatchers was Universe last time they met, so that could flip. Lafota might not be firing on all cylinders at the beginning of the tournament, so I could see Moon stealing that one, but not doing as well later on in the bracket.
Are we going to do a draft of the? I want to do a draft of the brackets. Can we do that? Can we do like a full spreadsheet of all divisions? What we think is going to happen?
Yeah. So it's good you mentioned that. So people who are still listening here, I want to do a picks contest with the fans. So I'm gonna try and do like a bracket contest for the fans to fill out the brackets. And I was gonna maybe just do semis and finals. Do you think we should do the only reason I didn't want to do the whole brackets is because then I feel like we kind of can't do as much with women's as the other divisions because women's only have semis and the other ones have bigger brackets.
I want us to do everything. I want us to guess who's coming out of the groups and stuff like that. But I think if we're doing like fans and other people joining in, I don't know how you'd calculate that. So I don't know if maybe we can just do semis and thingies for.
Yeah, I think with the fans, I'm going to do semis and finals.
But for us too, I want to like see exactly each result.
Okay, so we're gonna have to find a formula. So do we do it the same way that like each round is worth double the previous round, so that all rounds are kind of the same, or how do you want to do it?
I don't mind. I don't mind they're worth the same. I just want to see who was the more right. I don't know. I just even released them beforehand, so people kind of like debate it.
Yeah, but you have to have a way to compare them.
Yeah. Like the windmill algorithm, difference from places or something. You figure that out. You're the brains.
The windmill algorithm to it. I'll figure out a system, but yeah, that'll be homework for us before the next week's episode. We'll try and fill in brackets for the tournament. Okay, I think we've talked enough about everything. This is going to be a great tournament. I'm still it's still like 2 weeks away, so it still could get canceled, I feel like, given this year, but I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to have a great event. We're finally going to have Frisbee together. Hopefully we'll have a way to have like an outdoor party. That would be great. And have all of Elite European Ultimate in one place again. And that would be, except for most of the Brits and the Russians, but the rest of us can all be there. Yeah, that'll do it for Eurozone. I've been Ravi Vasudevan.
And I've been Liam Grant, and we will you later.